Hi everyone, Guy from Midwinter Minis here for a special 1-year anniversary episode. Just over a year ago, after buying the fantastic Forgebane Warhammer 40,000 box set, I decided that I wanted to experiment with a new style for Necrons. Apart from my first Blood Angels army when I was a kid, and my more recent Guardians of the Covenant Dark Angels successors, I don't often stick with the standard paint schemes for my models, and I prefer to come up with my own. The year before Forgebane came out, my girlfriend Penny had bought me the Necron Start Collecting box, as well as some of the new Citadel technical paints for my birthday. These included the Armageddon Dust texture paint and the Agrellan Earth Crackle paint. Putting two and two together, I wondered what a dry, cracked stone themed army would look like, so I did some experimenting and created a test model. Because I craved the validation of my peers, I naturally posted this picture on Reddit, where it seemed to go down pretty well. People asked me how I did it and how I stopped the paint from cracking off too much, and rather than just write down a guide, and because I already had experience of creating tutorial videos for my day job, I put two and two together once again and decided to make a tutorial. I chose a channel name, played around with branding, started up Midwinter Minis, and uploaded my first tutorial video, Speed Painting Sandstone Necrons. That video, as well as the related glowing blue effects without an airbrush and DIY dip wash videos, have been some of my most popular content, with almost 200,000 plays between them at the moment, which seems totally unreal to me actually. Anyway, one of the most frequent comments I received from people was asking to see my whole Necron army, and now I finally managed to build up my Necron army to 2,000 points, fully painted. I thought now would be a good time. So here they are, 1,997 points, or 124 power, of totally non-competitive but fun and fluffy Necrons. There's a little bit of everything, combining 2 Forgebane kits, the Start Collecting set, and a couple of other individual bits I picked up along the way to create a full-strength force. I play them as Mefrit Dynasty to take advantage of the extra armor penetration at close range and in Overwatch. As there are relatively few models compared to, say, the 300 models that make up my 2000 point orc list, command points feel like they're more valuable, so to give them more to play with, I usually field this army as a Battalion detachment and an Outrider detachment, giving me 9 command points to dish out during the game. Starting out with the Outrider detachment, the HQ slot is taken up by the Overlord, equipped with a Void Scythe, Resurrection Orb and Veil of Darkness. As he's also my Warlord, I give him the Enduring Will Warlord trait to make him stick around for a little longer. On top of an HQ choice, there are 3 fast attack slots you need to fill to complete an Outrider detachment. The swarm of 6 Canoptech Scarabs takes up the first slot, great for quickly darting around the board and taking objectives, or crawling all over high toughness targets like vehicles and knights. They always wound on 5s no matter how high their opponent's toughness is, which almost guarantees they'll nibble away a few wounds every turn, even from an Imperial Knight. If they get close enough, that is. Filling up the second and third Outrider fast attack slots are 2 separate squads of 3 Canoptech Wraiths, equipped with Vicious Claws and Particle Casters. Even though they're generally not considered a super competitive choice, my list is just for fun, and these creepy buggers always seem to perform really well. 3 wounds each, toughness 5 and a 3+ invulnerable save, and 12-inch movement makes them really fast and durable. You can also make them fall back from a target they've been fighting to let your other units shoot them, and then charge again with no penalty. Onto the Battalion detachment, my 2 HQ slots are filled with Cryptechs, both armed with Chronometrons to shield nearby troops from ranged attacks. These guys look pretty tough, but they're really just support units. They're particularly terrible in close combat with just 1 attack each. Because I had 2 identical models, I assembled one following the instructions, but I had a little fun with the second one, putting his cape on the bug and creating a cool, if a little bit wobbly, flying pose, and added extra detail to its back using the Praetorian spares from Forgebane. It's definitely not modelled for advantage, let me tell you. You can see this guy no matter where he tries to hide. To create a valid Battalion detachment, on top of the 2 HQ slots you also need to fill 3 troop choice slots. I filled the first slot with my squad of 10 Immortals, equipped with Tesla carbines, the same models I painted up for my first ever tutorial video. These guys are great when buffed by the Overlord's My Will Be Done trait, as they can generate silly amounts of cascading shots, and at half range with the Mefrit Dynasty armor penetration boost, they can be pretty lethal if a little vulnerable to high AP fire. The second and third troop choice slots are filled with squads of Necron warriors, one of 11 models and one of 12. These guys are obviously better in larger squads as they're more likely to survive using their reanimation protocols, but they're still a pretty nice slow walking threat, especially when guarded by the Cryptex Chronometron, and more likely to get up thanks to the Technomancer ability. To get my army as close to 2000 points as I could, I also painted up 2 classic 1990s Chaos androids from Space Crusade, giving them a modern blade upgrade and a matching paint job. I think they fit really well for models that are 30 years old. Now the HQ and troop choices are filled and the battalion is valid, I also included some elite choices from the Forgebane set and Start Collecting box. First, I made a squad of 10 Lich Guard, tough, well-armoured bodyguard units that seem to get back up almost as fast as you can knock them down. A relatively inexpensive and durable tar pit unit, their dispersion shields give them half a chance of shrugging off any damage, and while they're not overly aggressive up close, their -3 AP hyperphase swords can still make short work of even heavily armoured opponents. Next up, I used the Triarch Stalker I used to demonstrate how to paint glowing blue effects without an airbrush. I equipped it with a heat ray, and while it looks pretty fearsome and can dish out some serious strength 8 damage, I think it's actually more valuable as a support unit. Any other Necron can re-roll 1s when shooting the same target that the Stalker already shot at, so it's good for helping your army focus on any particularly nasty targets you're up against. Its quantum shielding also means it's really good at dodging high damage shots, helping it go the distance. Moving on to the heavy support slot, what Necron army would be complete without a monolith? Mostly ornamental, the monolith is an expensive unit to field as it's a big fat sitting duck against heavy hitting enemies. It doesn't have as much firepower as you'd expect, and its 20 wounds start melting away in the face of high strength, high AP fire. I usually use this to transport either my Lich Guard or a squad of warriors, dumping them out where they'll be most effective, but at over 300 points in just a 6-inch move, it's probably one of the worst transports in the game. It looks pretty cool though, right? Finally, in the flyer slot, I've added a delicious space croissant, the Necron Doom Scythe, to rain down some fiery death rays on my enemies. Well, that was the plan anyway. I've only played it in 1 game so far. It flew in on turn 2, missed all of its shots, and then was pulled out of the sky by a thundercoil harpoon of a Knight Dominus. One-shotting all of its 12 wounds away, it didn't even have the decency to explode on top of it. And while it's hilarious at the same time, this can also be one of the really disheartening things about the hobby. You buy a model, spend hours assembling and painting it up, only for it to be unceremoniously dispatched in the same turn it arrived. Never mind though, there's always next time. And there we go, that's my fun and fluffy 2000 point Necron army. It's been nice completing this project, and it's a great feeling to have a nice thematic army painted up and ready to game. This also feels like a really nice way to end my first year on YouTube. If you told me 1 year ago that I'd now have almost 17,000 subscribers and 500,000 views, and an awesome community full of really kind, caring, cool people, I absolutely wouldn't have believed you. But here you are, and here we are. A huge thanks to Alan and Andrew for supporting the channel with PayPal donations since the last video. If you'd like to donate to keep me stocked up with models for future tutorials and see your name and lights during a video, there's a donate link in the video description. In case you're wondering about the mise-en-scène in this video, the board tiles are from the Speed Freaks box set, and I painted up the backdrop myself. If you're interested to see how I made it, let me know and I'll add it to my to-do list for future videos. It was actually pretty easy to make. It looks exactly how I wanted it to look, and it took about half an hour and cost less than £2. Anyway, that's it for this video, and thank you so much for watching, and here's to another year of cool tutorials. Bye for now.